And a good Sunday afternoon. Roger Hill of Weathering Heights, VELCO Weather Hazards Forecaster. This VELCO Weather Hazards Outlook, looking at the continuous train of Pacific moisture coming in with these atmospheric rivers. What ends up happening is we see these strong atmospheric rivers and then kind of break a very strong area of trough of lower pressure, and that spins up these surface lows, which then track into the Gulf of Alaska, and so on and so forth, developing another one, and it's repeat and rinse. Some of that jet stream energy makes it across the country, opens the door for the Gulf of Mexico moisture, and then spins up an area of low pressure, pushes mostly rain into the region, or mixed precipitation types. That's what we just had, and that's followed by a kind of a weaker version of the northern branch of the polar jet stream, and that brings in a shot of colder air, and hence that's what we have right now with a kind of an area of higher pressure that's allowing for a real nice day the rest of this Sunday. This is a more recent view here. We have this atmospheric river headed for parts of California. You can see somewhat of a ridge of higher pressure here, and another atmospheric river kind of setting up off to the west. It is the year of the atmospheric river. It's not quite La Nina. It's definitely not El Nino. It's just the kind of setup we have currently with a lot of zonal flow right across the Pacific Ocean. And so looking at North America at large here, Mexico, of course, into southern Canada. The Pacific Ocean is the main source for a lot of our moisture and weather. Again, we have one system that's moved inland, another one that's offshore, and one that's affecting the Pacific Northwest. And continuation of colder air making it into the Rockies, and we're seeing some pretty healthy snowfall amounts even in parts of the Mogollon Rim north of, around Flagstaff, Arizona, and so on and so forth. With this last weather system, a pretty good punch of moisture having worked into the region. Looking at the temperatures, it looks like this, and we'll get the wind here in a second, but you can see that warmer temperatures are going to be scooting up over this ridge of higher pressure eventually. That's going to work in for the middle part of the week. In the meantime, we're seeing our colder weather on the backside of this area of low pressure, which incidentally is going to try to back in on Monday and produce a little bit of flurry action. And then that's going to linger for a time into Monday night, and then that pulls away on Tuesday morning. And then the next weather system, this one here, will start to work on in. It's going to weaken considerably as it moves in. And looking at winds right now, nothing major to look at with areas of low pressure out west, that high pressure ridge, and so on and so forth. And we have this disturbance that's out to sea that's going to bring in a little bit of cloud cover, and again, a little bit of flurry action developing on Monday into Tuesday morning. Okay, simplified, European on the left. We have the GFS Global Forecast System model, American model on the right-hand side. They're in pretty good agreement. And as we run this from 2 o'clock into the night tonight, we can see a little bit of this moisture starting to back in. GFS is not as robust on that. European's been fairly consistent about pushing this back into our region. As this ridge of higher pressure kind of expands across Canada, and the flow is a little bit more northeasterly and catches some of that moisture and then wraps it back to our west from Maine and coastal Maine, and then it moves right on out, kind of dissipates out by later in the day. It looks like on once we get into basically Monday afternoon, but just some residual amounts across the Northeast Kingdom into Tuesday. Then we have this weakening weather system, and this is the one we've been watching come across, producing quite a bit of snow in parts of Arizona and the southern Rockies. This is going to start to basically weaken as it moves on in, and you can see it kind of fall apart right here. So taking a look at the 0Z modeling, reaching back here, you can see the GFS wants to push in a little bit of mixed precipitation types. Again, this is valid during the morning hours on Wednesday. And then we have this kind of ridging of higher pressure that's going to start to break it up. And with most of the precipitation, moisture is exited out of the region. I'm not working with the GFS here, but with the European, that ridge should give us a day on Thursday up until we get into some mixed precipitation types late in the day on Thursday. And then we have some gradient wind issues we're going to have to worry about. This is the main threat for this particular outlook period for Vermont utilities. And some gusty winds along mainly the central and southern Green Mountains along the western slopes, but they're fairly marginal. A little bit of mixed precipitation types, which could lead to some wet snow. And then that system redevelops as a secondary system off the coast, kind of a Miller B nor'easter that locks the colder air in and allows that sort of to evolve into kind of a medium snowfall after seeing a little bit of a mix and then some wet snow and then eventually going medium snow. So right now, there's potential impacts. They're possible. Doesn't look like it's real serious at this point, as we're going to lock in the colder air in that system, then exits and leaves us with more or less unsettled conditions once we get into beyond the period. One other notation here is that it does look like we stay with more snow cover with that next system developing off the coast. And you might notice that we're changing up the weather pattern here roughly by this coming weekend, about the 23rd, 22nd, and so on, as it looks like we're going to get a little bit colder and stay more in the way of snow, less in the way of freezing rain and rainy weather. Looking at this morning's GFS ensemble centered on Montpelier, Vermont, this is the 3-hourly QPF, and again, this is the highlight of that next main bulge of precipitation that I'll be working on in. Just a little bit of noise in the system ahead of that with the GFS ensemble. The total QPF, not looking at anything major here. Note that the latest model run really took it a lot out, but we're still going to go with this black line here. This is about the medium reference, and we're only talking about 0.5 of an inch, half an inch of total mixed precipitation accumulation there. Looking at 850 hectopascal temperature levels, about the top of Mount Mansfield, about that altitude. We're looking at only time at going above freezing here to indicate a little bit of mixed precipitation type, and that is going to be basically with this kind of lead system that's going to develop for the middle part of the week. And kind of, trading notes here, you can see precipitation type with a little bit of mixes and then mostly all snow here. With the GFS ensemble showing a little bit maybe greater than 3 inches. Again, this is the ensemble. And again, with that ensemble, that is the one that's centered basically on Thursday night into Friday, and that's going to be our only real main utility concern. This is the Weather Prediction Center's accumulated precipitation over the next 7 days, or QPF, and you can see we're running about a half an inch in general, more offshore, more to the south, and of course, more incoming across the western mountains. All the cold air in the northern hemisphere is in a couple spots, the Canadian archipelago, kind of west of Greenland, and also along Siberia. Some of this is indicated to spill in and eventually lower the temperatures. Thus, weighted Moss temperatures, high temperatures only, running about 6 degrees above normal, and then you add 3 days later, we're looking at, again, about 9 degrees above normal, so a little bit of an uptick in the temperature. Though we've had a lot of mixed precipitation events, it's been primarily rain in the middle, where the bulk of the heavier portion of the precipitation falling, with lighter amounts of mixtures, and including snow, of course. But needless to say, we've really caught up. You can see that looking at many of the counties, and just kind of looking at Washington County, centering in on that, month to date is above normal. This is normal. So we've been seeing last 30 days, we've caught up on precip and then some. Last couple of months, 90 days, just a little hair below. 180 days, last 6 months, we're now even. Year to date, we're way above normal, and so on and so forth. This is a better look for our groundwater. And you can see all the counties are showing this nice uptick in moisture, and we'll take it. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights. Thanks for watching.